Montana. This message sponsored by Montana Secretary of State's Office in cooperation with the Montana Broadcasters Association.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. It's time for Montana's only daily sports talk show, Nuanez Now. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
I like football!
Now here's your host, Coulter Nuanez.
Yo, what's up, Montana? Welcome in. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Coulter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal, the only Bears that should be in your garbage. Plenty to get to here today. Ryan Tutel going to kick it with us here for the first hour. We're going to attack everything from Major Championship Golf and the phenomenon of Ryan Fox as the latest breakthrough winner at the British Open this last weekend. We're also going to talk some Big Sky Conference football, talking points for both the Cats and the Grizz. What questions would Ryan have for Brent Biggin from Montana State and Bobby Kennedy of Montana as we head to the Big Sky kickoff this weekend in Spokane? And we'll talk some NFL as well. We're going to do intriguing storylines from across the National Football League over the next 6 or 7 weeks leading up to the season opener. I'll check in with Brooks Nuanez and Ryan Tutel on that note. So Ryan and I talked about that. Hour number 2, Craig Haley. Stats Perform. He covers the FCS at a national level, and he has some of the intriguing storylines and some thoughts on the preseason All-American lists. 23 players for the Big Sky Conference, 8 from Montana State, 3 from Montana. He's certainly high on the Grizz and the Cats, and he's also high on South Dakota State, but he also has some thoughts on the rest of the landscape in the FCS. That's our ESPN Roundtable. And we'll talk some baseball as well, our latest Diamond Time. Coming up, give you an update on what's going on post-All-Star break and pre-trade deadline. Trade deadline coming around the corner, a little bit more than a week away. So who's going to be buyers, who's going to be sellers, and where are we at when it comes to basically the midpoint, a little bit over the midpoint of the Major League Baseball season. It's also Wednesday. It means we got wings for you, courtesy of the Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill, so stick around for that. That's coming up about 5:30. We'll do it in the second hour here today. So looking forward to that as well. Desperado, the best wings in the state of Montana. Don't believe me? Well, you better win yourself some and go try them. Appreciate the Despo for their continued support of us here at Nuanez Now. You want to stream it? You always can. 1029ESPN.com. You can also find us on the ESPN MT app and on YouTube and on Facebook and on Twitch. If you'd like to be a part of the show, 406-888-1029. Get things rolling with a great friend. Coming from the woods, or maybe this is Ryan's new restaurant. I don't know. I can't tell what he's ever doing at the lake or hosting 35 people for dinner. You will live a life of much mystique, my friend. Ryan Tutel joining us here on ESPN Radio. What's going on, buddy?
You're right across the board. Everything you said, they're all true. In the woods, at my restaurant, hosting 30 people. Little peak. We got the lake out over here, which is nice. But it's not as nice as my face. So that's what we're going to focus on for the next hour or so, and, this is where I feel, very, very at home, very comfortable, enjoying my summer, so this is what it's supposed to be.
Well, Ryan's family has one of the great places on Flathead Lake. It's an awesome spread and a very peaceful place and very cool. But you guys have been hosting quite a family reunion, so you gotta give people the rundown here. Like, you guys have had as many as truly 30 people up there for just getting together and hanging out. But the feeding of the people is the thing that I'm so curious in. Like, how do you go about figuring out what the heck they're?
Good question. So, just to give people a little picture, when my parents and their 4 children, of whom I'm one, get together with all of the families that are, us and our spouses and our kids and stuff, there's 23 is the number. including my sister from South Africa, who's here with her husband and their 6 children. So, and then we've got other friends, other family. Everybody wants to see them because they're obviously traveling from the other side of the planet to be here. And so they say hello and spend time and do all that. So this is the spot to do it for sure. But yes, everybody's got to eat, and it is a little bit of a mission. So we have a cereal bar set up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Cereal and milk are available. We have a sandwich bar 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There are, at a minimum, peanut butter, jelly, honey, cheese, lunch meats. Those are available. We have a snack bucket full of granola bars, chips. We've got, I can count them up right now, 5 coolers. We're ranging anywhere from alcohols to ciders to bottled waters to bubblies to kid juices. Like, we've got it all in a line there. So nobody goes hungry. And then we usually do 1 to 2 big meals a day. I did breakfast, a little impromptu breakfast this morning. We're going to do tacos tonight. We've got sloppy joes going. We've got burgers happening. We've got cod. And then really the only thing a human needs to survive. And I'm so thankful. If there's one thing I'm thankful about in my life, it's this: my mother's raspberry pie. I mean, it is straight out of the garden raspberries, and it's the best thing going, and I'll just eat that and nothing else forever. I'd be so happy. So, I'm doing just fine. And Andrew Schmidt, you can eat your heart out. He's always got his fake backgrounds, but I don't need a fake background. I got the real deal here today. So, we can just live a real life here.
I know. A lot of times people don't do the big family gatherings because they are worried about the logistics of it all. So I'm proud of you guys for spending some time and getting together. But I know that you got an opportunity to watch a little golf over the weekend as well. So you got to tell me what you make of this sort of burgeoning trend, which is all these guys. There's like the stalwart sort of headlining players right now on the PGA Tour, and they've all had great years where they're in the mix at almost all the majors. But we've also seen at least 2 major championship winners so far this year that are like completely random, like guys that maybe most people that follow golf have not heard of until Aaron Rai broke through at the PGA Championship, or this last weekend Ryan Fox breaks through at the British Open. What do you make of this phenomenon? Obviously, it's a testament to how great golf is and how many competitive golfers there are on the planet right now. But what do you make of just the way that this impacts it? Because I think some people would say they'd rather see, the Xander Schauffele's and Brooks Koepkas and Scotty Scheffler's and Rory McIlroy's of the world just dominating, event in and event out, especially when it comes to the majors. Others maybe love these feel-good stories of the 39-year-old dad from New Zealand who rolls the dice on himself and moves to America and then has a breakthrough. So what do you think? Which caters to the growth of the game and the popularity of the game more?
Well, if you're talking about on a whole, I think it's the great players being great is what is more broadly what people are into. But in any individual circumstance, I mean, how can you not get behind Ryan Fox just spraying lasers, standing over his ball for 1/10 of a second before dudes on the 18th green are still walking off and his ball is in the air. You better get out of the way because I'm coming, and it's amazing. And what he did on Saturday, shooting that 62 to tie, again, like another major championship round scoring record, and then to follow it up with birding 4 the last 6, it's elite. It's the best golf. I mean, he played better than everybody. And that's not just like by score, but just in fact what he did on the grounds. And I think that deserves all the respect in the world. It is an interesting analysis to look at the Open Championship and say we've had 13 unique winners in the last 13 years at that particular tournament. But those unique winners range from an absolutely out of the clear blue sky that nobody had Ryan Fox to the number 1 player in the world last year, Scotty Scheffler. So it's not that it's just, I guess it kind of is a free-for-all, and golf sort of has that in its nature where on any given week, some guy can get hot or a certain course can work for a certain set of skills that a particular player has who normally, is down the line in terms of world rankings and all that kind of stuff. But it is, I think a lot is being made, and there's a lot more discussion about course setup now than there has ever been before. And I think that, I mean, when the PGA was at Valhalla and there was 20 dudes inside of 3 shots of the top down the stretch, and there's some people who are like, well, what a competition, what a tight leaderboard, like all these people have a shot. Yeah, but also this course is not doing anything to separate the good players from the great players.
Right.
PGA professionals, dude, you put them on any muni, they're going to go out and shoot 60, period. Every single one of them, okay? Scotty Scheffler isn't better than Aaron Rai at Larchmont. I'm sorry. They're the same dude because they're just lining it up and smashing it at the pin and making birdies 14 times and four eagles, whatever. That's what they're doing. The courses are the things that have to be set up in a certain way. It's very hard to do. You have to have the right track and the conditions and the superintendent and the grounds crew to create a scenario where certain skills are forced to be executed. And usually the Open Championship is that very thing. And that is, I think, what we saw. And we had a very good leaderboard with Scotty Scheffler and Tommy Fleetwood and, a lot of other very good golfers. I mean, Cam Young, right? And Sam Burns. These are top 10 in the world level players who are at the top of this leaderboard. So I think this Open Championship is not a fluke by any stretch, where I think the PGA, more people would say, is a little more fluky just as a tournament anyway. So when Aaron Rai wins it, I think there's a lot of congratulations and a lot of like, well, okay, we'll try again next year to get a better tournament, to get a better track out of it, I think is kind of what it comes down to. But takes nothing away from an accomplishment of a 39-year-old who didn't start golfing till he was in high school. And as you said, dude, like, you're from New Zealand, you moved to Florida to pursue a dream of being a professional golfer. Like, that's all in type of stuff, man. And so to come out and win, what I think is globally the most prestigious championship. I mean, I think the Masters for me is number 1, but the Open's probably number 2. And that's all-time stuff, man. You're there forever. And that's a beautiful thing. And it was a really fun tournament to watch down the stretch, and to watch him just not get shaken and get super on. It's a 236-yard 4-iron into a bunker and has to play out of it because he just smashed it like that, and has another bunker that he has to go up and hit backwards to get out of, and doesn't get phased, just goes to the next shot, to the next shot, to the next shot, and buries a 12-footer for the win. I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
Ryan Tutel here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. The other thing is, I think that in golf, since the phenomenon of Tiger Woods occurred, we've been desperately trying to find that next one. And basketball fans did this in the NBA for a little while when Michael Jordan retired, but it was a much briefer window, right? Like we tried to make like Kobe Bryant and Vince Carter and maybe to a certain extent Allen Iverson, different brand and stuff like that. But like there was a couple guys that you tried to anoint as the new face of the league. It didn't work out that great. I mean, certainly Kobe had a great career, but it didn't work out. It was certainly too much pressure on too many different deals. And then once LeBron James came in, and then all of a sudden you had all these multiple faces of the league, and the league became so international, it became so diversified. And so that quest for the next Jordan, everybody sort of just admitted and accepted that Michael Jordan was a singular phenomenon, and there'll be plenty of all-time great basketball players after him, but probably replicating that moment in time is unrealistic at best. For whatever reason in golf, we've just been hanging on to that. We expect, like, for a guy to captivate us like Tiger Woods did, they would have to win at an even more unbelievable level, because Tiger certainly had certain guys that were good within his peer group, but there's nowhere close to as many good guys then as there is now. Now, if you want to be that guy, you got to be better than like 35 all world class type of guys that can actually have the ability to win majors. So, I mean, do you feel like it's a futile task for people to continue to try to look for the next Tiger Woods? Or what do you just make of the phenomenon of this, the depth that exists in golf right now and all the different guys that maybe haven't been able to rise up and seize it and be that definitive dominant figure, despite their best efforts, and plenty of guys like Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy have tried?
Yeah, I mean, to answer your first question, yes, it's futile to try and chase down the next Tiger Woods and who that's going to be, because it's not just a golf thing. It's an entire universe that came together to make Tiger what Tiger Woods and the phenomenon that he is. But even if we restrict it to just the golf, do you know how rare it is to have a single player who is definitively the best player? And it's crazy that we've had that with Jack Nicklaus for a long run and Tiger Woods. And then there were probably some times where like a Gary Player and an Arnold Palmer were that for a space of time where it was definitive. This is the best player out there. But I don't know if Arnold Palmer ever was, even when he's winning majors, if anybody was like, well, he's better than Jack. No, I just don't think so. I think it's almost like a Phil Mickelson to Tiger thing, where this is a great player, but you ain't the dude. And that's why I think we are actually really lucky to live in the Scottie Scheffler era. Scottie Scheffler is not nearly as far out in front of the field as Tiger was to the field when Tiger was the most dominant player in the world. But there is no question who the best player in golf is on the planet Earth, and that is Scottie Scheffler. And I think the fact that he hasn't gotten it done this season, particularly in the majors, and when I say got it done, I mean win, because he's top 10. He's top. He finished, what was it, second or third now in this tournament. And he has been right there, but hasn't closed the deal for various reasons at each of these tournaments. But it is Scottie's. I think there is a guy that everybody's chasing, and you could right now perhaps even say Rory too, and maybe that changes the dynamic a little bit, where there's two guys that maybe people would pick as being quote unquote the best players on earth right now. But I do think that there is a best player, and I think it's rare that that's the case. I think that there's a lot of times where you look around and there's favorites and there's guys winning tournaments, but there's not a single guy that's sort of consensus of this is the best player out there. And so to have that, I think is cool. I think it's good for the game. And I think that Scottie Scheffler, doing what hitting the ball in a hole on 13, totally unlucky, where he loses a shot, basically having to hit it out of a gerbil hole or whatever the heck that thing is that he landed in.
Unbelievable.
And then, it's just off. It's just awful. And then, so he makes a bogey. He comes back and he pars a par 5. And then he makes another bogey, and then he goes birdie, and you go, oh my Lord, here he comes. He buries a 17-footer on 16. He gets that unbelievable relief, a la Jordan Spieth on 17, where he hits it into the behind the TIO and gets to walk it back and makes a birdie on the par 5 anyway. And then he's got to do it on 18, and he can't. And as it turns out, if everything would have gone the same, it wouldn't have mattered anyways, because he was still only going to get to 9 under. And Ryan Fox got to 10. But that's the type of guy where you go, oh, it's just never over. And he's 16 burnt edges away from winning this tournament by 12. Like how many missed putts that this poor guy couldn't hole from a certain distance. But of course, that's the game, man. And that's what you're the one who I forget you were quoting said, when Scottie makes putts, he wins, period. If he doesn't, he's top 10. That's the floor. The top 10 is the floor. Scottish Open not accepting when he broke his missed cut streak. But I do think that adds a level of intrigue. And that's why I do think I think for this major season, there is maybe a little bit of a letdown taken in total. You know, when you have a couple champs who are great stories, and it takes nothing away from those guys, but it isn't, I think, what the people kind of wanted to see of, you know, let's see a Scotty Scheffler versus Xander Schauffele versus a Cam Young coming down the stretch where it's definitively going to be one of these three guys. Like, who's going to do it? And we never really got that except for Rory going back-to-back at the Masters.
Right, Tutel, joining us here on ESPN Radio. You mentioned just how hard it is to be like the best or one of the best. Hayden, our producer, brought this up on the show a couple weeks ago. He was talking about the legend of Billy Casper. Now, do you know anything about Billy Casper, Gus?
I know a very little bit about Billy Casper, but
so the big
but very
three.
little.
I mean, the big three in golf was Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, and Gary Player.
Right.
And those three guys won, I mean, count them up, like a combined 25-plus majors during their careers, and they dominated golf in the 60s, 70s, and 80s when it first rose to prominence. Well, Billy Casper was just the fourth guy, and he just wasn't those guys. But Billy Casper still won 51 times on the PGA Tour, which is the seventh most in the history of golf. He's a three-time major champion award winner. He had, during his prime stretch, he actually won more than any other player on tour, including those three guys I just named. He had a 16-year stretch where he had more wins than Jack, Arnie, and Gary Player, which is pretty amazing. But he wasn't them, and sometimes they get overshadowed, and sometimes that's why I love what's going on in the PGA. Like, I love that there's now who's to say Ryan Fox doesn't go win another one somewhere down the line? Who's to say Aaron Rai doesn't go win another one? All these guys that have proven they could win one, if they win two or three, now it just enhances and makes it even more competitive. But I also think we have to pour that into the legacy of some of the guys that are building the unforgettable legacies, the guys that are the Jack and the Arnold Palmers of their era, like the Scotty Schefflers and the Rory McIlroys. I think these guys deserve even more credit for the wins that they are getting in major championships now, because there are, I mean, it used to be you'd roll up to a major, sure, there's 160 guys in the Masters. There's actually only like 10 or 12 guys that could actually win. The Masters is probably a bad example. But at a given U.S. Open, you'd roll up and there was maybe 15 or less guys that could win. Now, every one of these majors, especially the non-Masters majors, there's what, 3 dozen guys that you could feasibly see as winning, especially when you account for some of these international guys, like some of the Asian guys that had such great performances this last weekend at the Open. So I just think we got to account for that too when it comes to the legacy of some of these best guys that are winning majors. Who are they beating? The field has never been tougher in professional golf.
Yeah, you're totally right. And I mean, Ryan Fox came, I think he was 53rd going into the weekend. So it's the furthest back that anybody's ever been to win a major. And why and how does that happen? I mean, golf is an anomalous sport, man. It really is. And sometimes the thoroughbreds just go stem to stern, but a lot of times there's other guys out there that just it just kicks in. And one thing about Ryan Fox is he's among the streakiest of the streakiest dudes. Like, when he catches fire, he is the best player in the world, man. Like, it doesn't happen often, but I've seen this dude go out and just go 9 under in 7 holes, you know, and just go, whoa, what is going on? And it's like he doesn't think, and because he plays so fast, I really think that more than anybody else, he can get into a flow state. I think Brooks Koepka kind of has the same thing. Like, these guys who are fast, who play real quick, when it's clicking, they just stay in it. And that's why they're so bothered by like backups on par 3s and all that. And I mean, shoot, give it to Fox, because he had to sit around on the 18th tee for 12 minutes waiting to hit the biggest shot of his life, and just flushes it. The hardest drive on the entire golf course, right down the left center of the fairway, rolls it up there, and then sits around waiting for the green to clear. Flushes it to 12 feet. I mean, those are 2 of the most unbelievable shots in the whole tournament, and he did it back-to-back on the 18th hole, needing a birdie to win. I mean, you can't over-communicate the level of onions that this dude is walking around with. Hit those shots in those spots. I mean, it's absolutely bonkers.
It was amazing. You and I and Brooks Nuanez, my brother, we were all in group texting while we were watching it. And when you hit the shot dead on 18, I think Ryan said, make or miss the putt. And Brooks said, this guy is in such a flow state, he's not even going to think about it. He's just going to walk up there and hit it. And sure enough, he didn't even line it up. He literally just walked up there, one practice swing, and rolls it in, man. His face, it was almost like he wasn't even in shock or glory or ecstasy or any of that at first. He had to, like, snap out of it to then be like, What did I just do?
Oh,
like he truly reached golf nirvana. Like he reached Zen. He was not thinking about anything, and it was a beautiful thing to watch.
Well, and the other thing you got to like about him is if you saw Ryan Fox at your beer league on Tuesday, you wouldn't think twice. This dude is carrying around a keg under his shirt. Looks like he's been riding a horse for his entire life. Just so much east-west in the gait and the bow legs and everything. And then he just smashes. So it was cool. I'm super happy for him, obviously. And it was a fun tournament. I think it's just kind of when it's all said and done, you're like, oh man, Ryan Fox. How about that? What do you know? So there we are. End of the golf season, so to speak.
End of the golf season. We'll certainly tune into a couple more things, but that's probably the formative amount of golf that we'll talk about here. So thanks to our great friends at Sportsbet Montana for continuing to support our pro golf conversation. Sportsbet Montana has kiosks all around the state of Montana. And don't worry, plenty of sportsbet coverage coming your way because we're going to dive into some NFL over-under win totals and some of the most intriguing storylines in the NFL. We also have to say thanks to our great friends at Last Best Golf Company. If you're still playing clubs that don't fit your swing, you're leaving shots on the course, Last Best Golf Co. specializes in professional club fitting and custom-built golf clubs designed specifically for you. Whether you're looking for more distance, tighter dispersion, or greater consistency, Last Best Golf Co. has a fitting process that'll help you get the most out of every swing. So here's what you do. You go down there, you hit in their simulator, they're going to analyze your swing, they're going to build everything from your driver to your putter for you, custom built. Get the most out of your game. Stop guessing. Start playing your best golf. Visit Last Best Golf Co., 517 South Orange Street, and experience the difference a proper fit can make. Ryan Tutel going to keep hanging out here on 102.9 ESPN Radio. We'll talk some Big Sky Conference football on the other side. Don't you dead dial. Keep it right here, 102.9 ESPN Missoula.
Around here, we see a lot of people head out. No matter where they're going, we just make sure they're ready. Before you hit the road, get a pre-trip safety check at Les Schwab Tires. It's free. Plus, this May, save up to $200 on select sets of 4 tires.
If we can't guarantee it, we won't sell it.
At Shields, we're anglers, endlessly seeking and refining techniques. We're hunters and storytellers because we've been out there. We're experts that put products and gear to the test so we can share that knowledge with you. At Shields, we understand your outdoor journey and the path you're on because we walk it too, every step of the way. Shields, right there with you.
Mountain Town Vacation Rental Management, your local partner for vacation rental success. We provide a fully customized hosting experience tailored to your needs and goals. Your home is listed on every major site, helping you maximize visibility and bookings. And our local team is available 24/7 to handle guest needs and booking inquiries. Let us take the stress out of managing your vacation home. Contact us today at mountaintownvrm.com or give us a call at 406-369-3080.
The rare moments in life, they're not just few and far between. They're meant to be treasured.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
The Missoula Mavericks are heading into the Montana-Alberta AA State Tournament with plenty of momentum after earning a dramatic walk-up victory Tuesday night to lock up the number 1 seed. Hello, I am Hayden Smith. The Mavs, 2-time defending Montana American Legion champions, trailed the Lethbridge Miners 10-9, entering the bottom of the 8th inning at Lindborg Craig Field. That's when Devin Leary, the ace pitcher who helped Missoula Sentinel capture its first ever state baseball championship this spring, stepped up to the plate. Despite having very few at-bats this summer, Leary lined the first pitch he saw back up the middle, driving in 2 runs and lifting Missoula to an 11-10 walk-off win. The victory improved the Mavericks to 17-7 in conference play, tying Lethbridge for the league's best record while giving Missoula the number 1 seed out of the West, heading into next week's state tournament. Under longtime manager Brent Hathaway, the Mavs have won 9 state championships since 1994, including each of the last 2 seasons. Those back-to-back titles mark the 3rd time Hathaway has led Missoula to consecutive championships, and just the 7th time any Montana American Legion program has accomplished the feat. Now the Mavericks will head to Lethbridge, looking to make even more history. A 3rd straight AA state championship would make them the first program to accomplish the feat since the Helena Senators won 3 consecutive titles from 2001 through 2003.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is presented by Canyon River Golf Club. Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
Right, Dutel chiming in here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. All right, let's talk some Big Sky Conference football. So, thought this was interesting. If it was not interesting at all, because Montana State, the preseason favorite in the Big Sky Conference once again, and I thought to myself, well, of course they are this year, right? They're the defending national champions, the defending Big Sky Conference champions. They, went undefeated in the league last year, and they return a glut of talent. But then I started thinking, wow, it seems to me that almost every year that they're the favorite in the Big Sky Conference. Then I looked it up. They, in fact, have been the preseason favorite, according to the media and the coaches, in the Big Sky each of the last 5 seasons. So this is year 6 of Brett Vigen. He will never have not been the favorite. Certainly his first year, the previous coaching staff deserves a lot of credit for that, for setting the table for him to have a team that was the preseason favorite. And they actually did not win the conference championship in year 1, even though they went to the national championship because the Bobcats lost in Missoula. But ever since then, the Cats have basically affirmed the preseason notion that they are the number 1 team. So what do you make of the fact that Montana State's now going on 6 years in a row as the preseason Big Sky Conference favorites, and Brett Vigen has never been anything but the team with the target on his back headed into the season?
Well, what I make of it is that they made the right hire after Jeff Choate. That's what I make
No
of
doubt.
that. Because, he did what he did in year 1, and then in year with that unbelievable team, right, with the Troy Anderson class. But then in year 2, everybody's like, okay, well, let's see, and just stamped it again and again, and now they're wearing that ring. So I mean, it's really, really impressive. And I guess the thing that I'm interested in, I think Big Sky Media Days this weekend, right? And so everybody's going to get a chance to go talk to the coaches and the players of all the teams in the conference. But to me, when I think about Coach Vigen now, and we know that he has been, it's a little Travis DeCure-ish in terms of even the timeline, where now 5-6 years, massive success, and getting looks and even offers at pretty major universities to go and be the head coach elsewhere. And for various reasons, whether it's been logistics, whether it's been money, whether it's just been fit or whatever, that hasn't happened. And so he is, again, or still in Bozeman at Montana State. And the obvious questions that should and will be asked are things about pressure, expectation, back-to-back defending national championship stuff. Like, how do you do that? But for him personally, I'd really like to know, like, what is the invigorating thing for you now for this season? What is it that is bringing you back to the football field with a level of excitement and enthusiasm? Or or is it? I mean, of course he's not going to say, I'm kind of bored of this or anything like that. But I'd like to know, like, you've had the goal of, say, chasing a Big Sky Conference championship, of chasing a national championship. You've attained that stuff. So what is not just the goal for the team, but for you personally? Like, what are you here for? What are you trying to do? And I think that would be interesting. And I'd like to know, like, hey, do you think coming from NDSU that you are in a place that you can and perhaps are recreating a North Dakota State type of program, that level of dominance at Montana State? Do you conceive of that? Do you think of it in that way? Or is it all just year in, year out, game in, game out? Like, how does he process and think about that stuff? Those are sort of questions that I'd like to know. And you never know when you ask a coach, like, how much you're going to get from them on that stuff. But I think it's not personal questions, but it's football questions about him, not just about his team, if that makes sense.
Right. Two-tail gender, that's here on Nuanez Now. It absolutely makes sense, because when you're down 28-0 at halftime in the national championship game and your quarterback's already got knocked out and you get your butt kicked 38-10, it's pretty easy to motivate your team the next offseason. You say, okay, boys, we went to the Natty, and we weren't even close against NDSU. We got to close the gap. Then the next year, you go on the road and you get pushed all over the place in Brookings, South Dakota, by one of the great teams we've seen in the FCS, by South Dakota State. Okay, the next offseason, the rallying cry is very simple. We got to get bigger and stronger. We got to be able to hang with those guys in the trenches. 2023, the season unravels for off-the-field stuff and a whole bunch of different things that didn't go Montana State's way. All right, we got to reel it back in. We got to reorganize the coaching staff. We got to get rid of these guys that have been a distraction. We got to reform our identity. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's simple to define. And then you're coming out of 2024. Okay, we had the most talented and decorated class in school history, and we went undefeated, and then we came up short by just a field goal. All right, back to work. Let's do it, right? Like, you have this common rallying cry. Again, it's not easy, but it is simple. It's simple to define.
Yeah,
well, now,
it totally.
And now you got the target on your back, and it's a whole different deal. Climbing and being at base camp trying to get to the top is a whole lot different than being at the top and having everybody trying to push you off the backside of the mountain. And the Cats, as a program, Brent Vigen aside, has never been in this spot. They have not been in this position. You could even say in 1984 when they won a national championship, well, that was not like a dynasty in the making. They'd won 2 games the year before, and they won a game the year after, and Dave Arnold got fired 2 years later, right? I mean, that was an anomaly. The only time they've ever been in this spot, really, is 50 years ago, back when Sonny Holland was the head coach. But in the modern era, they've never been in this spot. So I'm so interested to see how they deal with that. My question for you, though, is do you feel like the fact that Brent Vigen has been in this scenario before, just at a different place, helps him, or does it hurt him? Because to me, I already know sort of the vague, at least, or broad answer to what he will say to that. He'll say, we haven't done anything yet. To be a truly rememberable FCS dynasty, we got to stack multiple championships. Do you feel like him having done this before and having a formula to do it helps him?
Well, yeah, certainly. I don't know how it wouldn't. Unless it's something like where there's like some sort of comparison thing happening or whatever. But no, I mean, he knows how he knows how the cake is baked, man. And I think that this is what makes elite programs so great, is the absolute rote boredom of repetition. They do it the right way over and over and over again. I mean, to the point where fans aren't even showing up to games in Fargo because they're like, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be another win. Cool. Like, it's just so, it's so normal. But what it takes to have the discipline to do it like that over and over and over again, and to instill that into your players, and then that waterfall effect of the passing of the baton from one generation, one class to the next. That's the stuff that I think is really hard to do. And that's maybe the stuff that is most on the coaches who are there over time. And Coach Vegan has seen that and how that is done, or how that was done at Fargo. And of course, it's going to be different in a new place. And there's going to be both nuanced and then very obvious differences from one program to another. But to have done it and understand how to do it, and having proven the theory, because you are the national champion now and you've been to 2 straight and 3 in 6 years. This looks to me like, yeah, I mean, it's certainly helpful and will only be beneficial to him in that program for as long as he's there.
Okay, on the Grizz side, I think Ryan Tutel joining us here on Nuanez Now. Big Sky kickoff coming up this weekend in Spokane, Washington. So that's a great sort of opening, or a great sort of centerpiece to a conversation with Brent Vegan, as his team enters as the definitive favorites in the Big Sky Conference. On the Montana side of things, they were voted number 2 in each poll. Not surprising. But maybe it is a little surprising, given the fact that there was so much turnover at Montana this offseason. But I certainly think the brand name of Kale Ayat at quarterback and Eli Gilman at running back, and the fact that they're Montana, all of those things cater to it. Were you surprised or not that Montana was the number 2 team to consensus by both the media and the coaches? And what would be sort of the centerpiece of your conversation with Bobby Kennedy this upcoming weekend?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. The talent on the field says they should be the number 2 team going into this season in the Big Sky Conference. And I mean, I was thinking about this about Montana State. You talked about you've never had the target on your back like that, being the defending national champions. And that's true. But you know what? It ain't like being a defending Super Bowl champion. When you win a Super Bowl, there's 23 out of 32 other teams that could beat you on any given Sunday. When you're Montana State, there's a dozen teams out of 150 that could actually beat you on any given Saturday. And you're going to play 9 or 10 of your games against unlosable, that are unlosable games in some form or fashion, it seems like, So even though there's a target on your back, the equality of competition just isn't there. And for Montana, it's still Montana, man. It is a program. It is a destination. It is a facility. And even though it's a new head coach, he's a new head coach that's brought a lot of invigoration and excitement to the program that was lacking, quite frankly. And so I think both when you look at, to your point, the offensive side of the ball, coaches and players, and who's still there, as well as a guy like a Peyton Wing and some others who are coming back defensively, you go, hey, I mean, okay, it's a new day. It's a new coach. It's still a team that has better talent stem to stern than 85, 90% of the conference, probably of the country. And so, yeah, you should perform well. The question that I would want to ask Coach Kennedy is what will define success to you this year? When you are a brand new head coach, there's a pretty long leash that's usually given. But I'm not asking you about what other people think or the leeway that you might have, whether it's internally or with the community or with the school or whatever it might be. I want to know what defines success to you. And is that a number of wins? Is it a depth of run in the playoffs? And if it isn't, or if it isn't only that, what else is it? Like, what are the barometers you're looking for, not only in your first year at Montana, but in your first year ever as a head coach, that you are going to be able to say, this season was successful and here's why on the back end, or the season was not successful and here's why on the back end, depending on how it goes. But I think that there are because sports are beautifully objective, right? You get a winner and you get a loser, and you get, at the end of the day, a record, and famously, you are what your record says you are. With that being said, I think there are other measures of success and what success can be and what success can mean. That doesn't mean if you go 6-7, you will have had a successful season by some other form. Oh, we had a bunch of fun. No, that's not what we're here. That's not what we're talking about. But I'd like to know Coach Kennedy's view. Like, what are the things that you have dialed in on, that you have thought about, that you have reflected on, that you want to instill directions of the program, wins and losses, participation within the community, recruiting, whatever it might be, that you can say, hey, this is what I am here to do. This is how I bake the cake, so to speak. And I think those would be interesting, at least, to hear what his response might be.
Last thing, would he be foolish to say the standard line that the expectation at the University of Montana is a national championship and nothing less? Like, is that foolish for him to say on the record?
What I want to know is, who's the last person that said that on the record?
Good question.
I think we've said that. I think we've said that a lot, but I don't know that I've heard that out of the university very much.
Interesting.
So I think he probably would be foolish to say that. I think that you can hold yourself to a very high standard, to the highest standard. You can say that what's the difference between a goal and an expectation? I don't know. For some people, maybe there's nothing, but I do think that you can have goals that are national championship goals, and then expectations of, we're going to come to work every day and we're going to see what happens. And what you don't want to do is put yourself in a situation where you're creating the scenario by which your pink slip is offered back to you, right? You don't want to give people the ultimatum where they can go back and say, you said this and you're not close. Thanks, but no thanks. I think you want to obviously understand and respect the program and the level that you want to and should be at, but you also need to be, I think you need to coach a game or two before you start calling your shot to national championships. That's what I think.
Right, Taylor on Nuanez Now 102.9 ESPN Radio. We'll talk one NFL storyline on the other side. Don't change that down. Keep it right here.
Life can change in an instant. If you've been hurt in an accident, suffered from medical negligence, or are facing criminal charges, you don't have to face it alone. At Ryan Miller & Coburn, we're here to listen and fight for you. We're your neighbors, traveling across Montana to stand by your side as your link to justice. Real people, real help, right here in Montana. Ryan Miller & Coburn, your Montana attorneys.
Around here, we see a lot of people head out. No matter where they're going, we just make sure they're ready. Before you hit the road, get a pre-trip safety check at Les Schwab Tires. It's free. Plus, this May, save up to $200 on select sets of 4 tires.
If we can't guarantee it, we won't sell it.
Life's about the journey, not the destination, right? Why can't it be about both?
Jewelry Design Center. We want to be your jeweler for life.
On 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Ryan Tutel kicking it with us here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Appreciate him for hanging out. All right, let's talk some
Appreciating
NFL.
me is not enough, okay? It's a sunny, beautiful 90-degree afternoon on the Flathead Lake, and I'm in a blast-in sweatbox sauna of a solarium for you, okay?
Hey.
So if you're listening on the radio, you can't see me. First of all, if you're listening on the radio, go get on YouTube and look this up, because I look great. But also, you got to appreciate I'm giving up lake time, man. I get my tan going here, get a nice swim in, get a nice cold one going. But no, I'm here putting in work for love, okay? So I want a little bit more than appreciation. I want elation, exaltation.
Well, good news for you is we only got about 7 minutes left, so I want just one quick hitter. We're gonna hash this out all over the next 6 weeks. Intriguing storylines in the NFL because there's never a lack of intriguing storylines in the NFL. What do you think, though? Like, just off the cuff, what pops to your mind when you think of intriguing storylines coming into this upcoming NFL football season? Just give me one. It doesn't have to be the best one. You don't have to rank it as a top or anything. Yeah. What's the one that comes to your mind immediately?
I'm going to give you two. The one that is constantly in my mind is how good are the rookies, and particularly the offensive skill position rookies in the league. Jeremiah Love would be one down there in Arizona. A couple of the wide receivers who are filling positions, like in Philadelphia and in Tennessee, I think. And so those are always questions that I am interested in any new season. Of course, you can talk about Seahawks defending Super Bowl champions, Aaron Rodgers last season. But the other one that I'm constantly interested in is, can the Browns be good? You know, the Browns are my favorite team after the Packers and Seahawks, Coulter. I am the biggest Browns honk ever. And I love the disaster that is the Cleveland Browns, and it looks like we're headed for that again. But they've got so much talent. They're in a division that's in upheaval with new coaches everywhere, including Todd Monken. I love the Browns, and I just want to see if they're going to be as bad as it seems like they're always going to be, with a little bit of hope that maybe they won't be, even with the Myles Garrett trade. So there you go. There's two.
Do you believe in franchises having like psychological destinies almost? Like it seems to, I mean, the Browns have had the best player, in my opinion, the best player in football for the last however many years. They just traded him, but they only made it to the playoffs, I believe, one time with Myles Garrett on their roster. But they've had talent, and like when you look at their margin of defeat in so many of these games, they're in games, but they just can't get over the top. Is that a matter of psychological like entrenchment? Are they stuck because of their existence as the Browns as much as it is their talent on the football field?
I actually do believe in that for guys who are like long-term types of players. Joe Thomas comes to mind, right? I mean, he's first ballot Hall of Fame offensive lineman, one of the greats to ever do it. Did he even play in a single playoff game? Maybe one. And at some point you hear all the time about the difference when free agents come in from wherever they were to Cleveland and how much worse it is. And they don't usually offer a lot of detail about that stuff, but they'll give innuendo when they leave, like, hey, you know, it's nice to be in a place that really has high aspirations or something like that, where it's sort of in there. But to me, far more than the psychological fact, like this is the stuff that goes straight to ownership. Who is running it at the very, very, very top? And it's never been run well in Cleveland. It has never been run well. I do think they are trying to hold a semblance of consistency. And I think if you look at their last 3-4 drafts with their new GM, who's still the GM, they kept him in place. Dude, they've amassed talent, but they never get the quarterback situation right. Never. So that's the first thing. And then they just don't have the mentality. They don't know how to do it well. You get people who haven't done it, and Jimmy Haslam just doesn't know what he's doing as an owner. And owners are arrogant people across the board. And that doesn't mean they're necessarily bad, but they believe unequivocally they can do this. And because you became a billionaire making truck stops across the country, doesn't mean that you know how to run an organization whose commodity are human beings, right? And it's just a different deal. Being in a professional league and a professional sports franchise is, even though it is a business, it's not a business like it is in the business world. It's a completely different thing. And some people can do it and some people cannot do it. And a lot of people who are rich can't do it. They cannot do it. There's a handful of good owners in professional sports, and then a lot of tryhards, and then a couple who just are there for the paycheck. And that's just kind of what it comes down to. And I think Jimmy Haslam, I will give him this. He wants it. He's trying to do a good job. He's just not equipped to do a good job. And that will continue to befall the Browns for as long as he insists on being really, really involved in the football side of that operation.
Organizational stability, continuity between head coach and quarterback. I think those are the two factors that can really put you over the top. Like, as we always talk about, in a league like the NFL where you have a salary cap and you have so many smart people in so many elevated positions, like the difference between every team every year, there's not that much difference between being an 11-6 team and a 6-11 team. There just really isn't. And so much of it comes down to who's the guy under center, who's the guy on the sideline, what kind of injury luck do you have? But more than anything, what is the organizational stability like, right? That's why you see, by and large, teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers be in the mix most of the time, even when they have varying levels of talent. I would say the Denver Broncos are a pretty good run organization. Seattle Seahawks have remade themselves many times over. The Los Angeles Rams are very much like that. San Francisco 49ers, they're well-run organizations, so they can sort of endure the ebbs and flows that come with some of the luck and the non-controllable factors. And then you have somebody like the Browns where it's just been a calamity of errors when it comes to the leadership within the organization that has held them back for all these years.
Well, and I do think the well-run organizations are, in fact, the organizations whose owners don't do it. Don't run the football stuff. Hire football people and let them do their jobs. I mean, that's the way to go. It seems to me in the NFL, or else you're just the Dallas Cowboys in perpetual purgatory because your GM is your owner and is not good at it.
Well, then there's the other side where it's the New England Patriots, right? And Robert Kraft has been very involved through all of these years, but that's a different day. It's a different day and age. Like, Robert Kraft bought the Patriots for pennies compared to what.
But he's involved in a way where he, and owners earn the right or have the right to do whatever they want. Obviously, they're the owners, but to sign off on certain things. But he gave it to Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick over time earned the trust of Kraft to just run the show. And then he's like, hey, send me a memo when you're going to make your next move or whatever, So it is what it is. What I do love is that you opened up the entire NFL to me, and I got to do 5 minutes on the Cleveland Browns to open the season. This makes me so very happy.
Welcome to Ryan Tutel on ESPN.
Yeah, baby.
Hey, you go enjoy that lake. Don't dive off the diving board. It's too shallow there. You already
shallow
know.
Dives.
I got a scar right here from it to prove it. But
you also had your hands at your sides.
Hey, it's a big anchor on top. We'll round you up next week and see what's going on. We'll keep on talking some NFL, but in the meantime, thanks for being here today.
Bet.
Nuanez Now coming to you from the Grizzly Disposal studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal has construction roll-off boxes for your construction project. They can get them to you within 24 hours. Don't wait days or even weeks. Grizzly Disposal has them in stock All you have to do is give them a call, 406-541-7171, or visit grizzlydisposal.com. Grizzly Disposal, the only Bears that should be in your garbage. Hour 1 in the books, hour 2 coming your way. Craig Haley, Stats Perform, talking all things football on a national level in the FCS. Well, stocks of baseball, whatever else we can get to. That's next. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. It's 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Jewelry Design Center. We want to be your jeweler for life.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
In honor of our great nation's 250th anniversary, Mattress Firm is having its biggest 4th of July sale ever. The entire lineup of top-rated mattress brands are on sale with prices starting at $149 up to top-of-the-line mattresses with lifetime warranties. Get the sleep you deserve with payments starting at $39 a month. Mattress Firm has pillows, sheets, adjustable bases, all on sale too during their biggest 4th of July sale ever. Locally owned and nationally known Mattress Firm.
Mattress Firm, where it's easy to get a great night's sleep.
Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
The Missoula Mavericks are heading into the Montana-Alberta AA State Tournament with plenty of momentum after earning a dramatic walk-up victory Tuesday night to lock up the #1 seed. Hello, I am Hayden Smith. The Mavs, two-time defending Montana American Legion champions, trailed the Lethbridge Miners 10-9, entering the bottom of the 8th inning at Lindborg Craig Field. That's when Devin Leary, the ace pitcher who helped Missoula Sentinel capture its first ever state baseball championship this spring, stepped up to the plate. Despite having very few at-bats this summer, Leary lined the first pitch he saw back up the middle, driving in 2 runs and lifting Missoula to an 11-10 walk-off win. The victory improved the Mavericks to 17-7 in conference play, tying Lethbridge for the league's best record while giving Missoula the #1 seed out of the West, heading into next week's state tournament. Under longtime manager Brent Hathaway, the Mavs have won 9 state championships since 1994, including each of the last 2 seasons. Those back-to-back titles mark the 3rd time Hathaway has led Missoula to consecutive championships, and just the 7th time any Montana American Legion program has accomplished the feat. Now the Mavericks will head to Lethbridge, looking to make even more history. A 3rd straight AA state championship would make them the first program to accomplish the feat since the Helena Senators won 3 consecutive titles from 2001 through 2003.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is presented by Canyon River Golf Club. This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, coming your way here from the Grizzly Disposal Studio. I'm Colter Nuanez. As always, you can always find anything you missed in the show on the Nuanez Now podcast, available on all your various podcast hosting platforms. Please rate, review, subscribe. Plenty of fun stuff in the first hour from Ryan Tutel. Coming up, Craig Haley, Stats Perform, as our ESPN Roundtable. We're also going to talk some baseball, and we're going to give you some wings from the Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill. Appreciate Grizzly Disposal for the continued support. Grizzly Disposal supports a ton of cool organizations in our communities. They have Chicks and Chaps, trash receptacles that they can give you that then they give back proceeds to fundraising around breast cancer awareness and breast cancer research. They also have some GSA, Grizzly Scholarship Association receptacles that they give back to the GSA each quarter as well. Grizzly Disposal in our communities, locally owned, and the only Bears that should be in your garbage. Craig Haley has been covering the football championship subdivision on a national level for as long as I can remember. He is our guest on this week's ESPN Roundtable. ESPN Roundtable checking in now with Craig Haley, who covers the football championship subdivision on a national level. And I always know that summer is sort of creeping towards an end whenever I start getting emails from Craig. Whenever the Stats All-American list comes out, or the Buck Buchanan watch list, or the Walter Payton Award watch list, it means the football is right around the corner. So always a sad and happy day all at the same time. So Craig, thanks for being here, man. How's it going?
Appreciate it, Coulter. It probably, some of these lists probably seem like the all Big Sky team because there was a lot of Big Sky players this summer.
Well, certainly, and we're going to get to that because certainly 23 representatives from the Big Sky Conference out of the 101 guys that landed on the FCS All-American team in the preseason. So that's about one quarter of the players for the whole team are from one conference. So that's pretty cool. We'll get to that here in just a minute. But you've been covering the FCS/Division I AA for a really long time. So what have you thought of just sort of the way that it's ebbed and flowed? I mean, this last offseason, one of the big stories, North Dakota State moving on and moving up. But it seems like there still is a lot of stability, too, in certain areas, especially out west. So how would you just sort of describe the landscape of the FCS right now?
Great question, Coulter. I think Montana State and Montana showing their commitment to staying on this level at this time really does a lot for the FCS. Obviously, losing in North Dakota State is huge. That's the program that most casual fans have looked to for some time now. So that's very hurtful to the FCS level. At the same time, having teams like the Montana schools, South Dakota State, some of these other teams that are still committed, it shows you there's still powerful programs out there. And top 5, top 10 still look strong this year, even without the Bison.
What's so interesting because those programs you just named, they've been sort of chasing North Dakota State for 15 years. I mean, it's been one of the most sustained runs we've ever seen in college football, period, at any level of college football. What do you think it does to the landscape of the FCS to sort of not have the ship that is just out in front of everybody else and the one that everybody's chasing?
Well, just look how much South Dakota State has really caught up this decade. Has just as many titles, just as many championship game appearances. Actually has 4 conference titles to the Bison's 3. And yet we don't even really think of it that way because that's how much the Bison loom over everybody or did for 15 years. And Montana State, 3 championship games at this decade. And at the same time, the way the Bison loomed, it just showed you such, their consistency for a long period of time, how strong of a program. I think the Bison leaving on top of Montana State winning this year, returning so many key players, didn't take the money to go elsewhere. That's kind of what South Dakota State did to kind of equal, get to another level against the Bison. I think this is, Montana State's team to beat. I think 2026, it looks like the year of the Big Sky, starting with that early January win for Montana State over Illinois State. I just think it's quite a shift this year for what the Bobcats are doing and what they returned just like the way all those great South Dakota State teams did in winning national titles.
Just for fun, what do you think of North Dakota State's prospects at the next level? I think they're going to be dang good. I know a lot of the pundits at the next level that are covering the Mountain West think they might be, good, but maybe not great. I think they were picked 5th in the Mountain West poll. I think they're going to go in and be very competitive in that league right away. You've watched them a lot over the years. What do you think? I think
they're better than 5th in the Mountain West. Even if Nathan Hayes, their new quarterback, doesn't put it together, and there's still questions about him. I think if he puts it together, wow, they are just a tremendous team. Last year during the season, I remember talking to somebody within my company, Stats Reform, about national rating, where the Bison would fit in at the next level. I said, look, they are a top 50 program at that moment. He went into our advanced analytics, and sure enough, they were 49th just by him looking at that moment. I think they're a top 15 program, and I just think they will recruit even better now on the FBS level. They figured it out, how to dominate. They know you got to win in the trenches, and they've had, an unmatched offensive line for some time now, let alone NFL quarterbacks, running the show. So I think they're going to be tremendous. I think they're better than 5th in the Mountain West, and they will be, in the mix moving forward.
Certainly history tells us that, too. I mean, sometimes people forget, too. I mean, North Dakota State won 8 national titles before they even got to the Division I AA/FCS, and then they won another 10 more after that. So you go to the Fargo Dome, there's banners for days and days. Craig Haley, Stats Perform, joining us here on the ESPN Roundtable. It's 102.9 ESPN Radio, as well as SWX Montana Television and the ESPN MT app. So let's talk about sort of the landscape now. You mentioned Montana State bringing so much back. It's been interesting to cover this offseason of Montana State storylines because for the last however many years, probably dating all the way back to 2019, the two questions were, how do you beat the Bison and how do you get over the top? Like, how do you actually become a national championship winner, not just a national championship qualifier? Well, they didn't beat the Bison last year, didn't get a chance to see the Bison because Illinois State took them out of the playoffs, but they did get to the top, and now they are on top. To me, that's the most fascinating storyline, not just in the Big Sky, but in the FCS. And it's not a complicated one. It's a very simple one. Montana State returns almost all of their best players. How do they go about running it back? It's going to be fascinating to watch, I think, because it's been a long time since Montana State was in this position.
They should be favored in all 12 regular season games. That includes the Nevada FBS game. They're the team to beat. They're playing with confidence. They're playing with veteran players. They have everything they need to repeat. And Brent Vigen is just out of this world as a coach. They're lucky to still have him. I mean, that's how good he should be coaching the FBS program. But he's stayed loyal and stayed there in Bozeman. I think the Big Sky is tremendous this year. Obviously, the Grizz are nipping at their heels. I think UC Davis, with the Connors brothers coming back, that solves a lot on defense. They had all these playmakers coming back. I think they're a top 5 team going in. I just think the Big Sky has probably surpassed the Missouri Valley going into this year. And those two conferences are way above everybody else in the FCS conference-wise.
And you mentioned Brent Vigen staying at Montana State, and it's sort of a parallel with Montana State staying in the FCS, Montana staying in the FCS. I think that both the Montana schools, I know that both the Montana schools really appreciate their position in the FCS and what it means to truly compete in a national championship, for a national championship in a national playoff system, and all the things that just bring so much fruit to the table at the end of the year each year for both the Cats and the Grizz. But follow up on that, because Vigen could have gone a lot of different places and he didn't. What do you think that says us about the stability that exists at Montana State, and how much do you think that stability sort of goes hand in hand with how successful the Cats have been?
Perhaps if Coach Vigen was a little younger, maybe that changes things. I mean, he's been coaching for a long time. He loves this level. He understands this level. Obviously, the money is outrageous at the FBS, but there's also something to be said for being happy. And he's probably happy at Montana State, and they're going to reward him and elevate his salary with the job he's doing. So again, he could be making more money elsewhere, but there's something to be said for being happy where you're at, and also, as you mentioned, playing in a true playoff and having a shot at the national championship.
ESPN Roundtable probably presented by Stockman Bank of Montana. Stockman Bank in Montana, only in Montana, and they plan on keeping it that way. Let Stockman Bank show you Montana's brand of banking. More with Craig Haley, Stats Perform, right now. What do you make of just sort of the dynamic of then the rival for Montana State? Because Montana has made great strides, at least this last year, sort of bouncing back from what was sort of a middling year 2 years ago. But they won 13 games last year, went to the FCS semifinals, but they lost twice, and the 2 losses came in the span of 28 days to their fierce rival, who also happened to win the national championship. And that caused a whole bunch of upheaval. Now you have a whole new regime at Montana with Bobby Kennedy. So what do you make of the Grizzlies this year and sort of their pursuit? I mean, they're the number 2 team in the country basically right now, number 2 or number 3, depending on who votes where, yet they're the number 2 team in their own neighborhood and in their own state and in their own conference as well. So what do you make of the Grizz, and what do you think of just sort of the new era that begins in Montana this fall?
Coulter, I think we'd feel differently if they weren't able to do what they did last year. I mean, they lost so much from 2 years ago and only had a few starters back, none on defense, and look what they did, to get to a national semifinal. And, here they lose a lot this year. I mean, obviously, Ayat and Gilman are back to lead the way. But, again, they're replacing a lot of players, a lot of stars. But at the same time, we don't feel that angst because we know that they've done this. They could do it again. Obviously, there's continuity by elevating Bobby Kennedy. But that's also, it's always tough to replace a legendary coach, to be that next coach. He's trying to replace Bobby Houck. The moment something goes wrong, the fan base or the media, they're going to point to, hey, he doesn't have the experience as a Coach Houck. I think he can get it done because, he's been a part of this program. He saw what they could do last year when they weren't returning many players, and to have another big year. And Eli Gilman's just going to be, having a banner year. And Ka'Alili Ayat will as well. So they're going to be so explosive as an offense.
Craig Haley, Stats Perform, joining us here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. And there's all of those gentlemen you just named are on the Walter Payton Award watch list. Eli Gilman and Ka'Alili Ayat, plus Justin Lamson, Taco Dowler, and Adam Jones from Montana State, too. We talked on Monday about how, sometimes when you have multiple great offensive players for these national awards, maybe they actually take away from each other just because, they're all in the same offense and there's only so many touchdowns you could possibly score or catch or throw. But if you had to handicap it, who do you think is maybe the favorite for the Walter Payton Award, and where do you think the guys that are from the state of Montana fit into that mix?
Well, obviously you have to have Ayat and Gilman in the mix. I do think the favorite would be, Bo Brungard of Youngstown State. I mean, he won it last year. Yeah. He just put up astronomical numbers. Only the third player to have over 3,000 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards in the same season.
He was close to like 1,500 rushing yards too, right? I mean, it's his video game numbers a year ago.
Yes, and 53 total touchdowns between passing, rushing. He had one reception, 50-yard touchdown. I mean, he just set the world on fire. So he'd be the favorite. But then you have Justin Lamson in the mix. You have Ayat and Eli Gilman. I think if you're looking elsewhere, Chase Mason, quarterback at South Dakota State. I mean, obviously he got hurt last year, but he had a banner year otherwise. I mean, he had 21 total touchdowns in just 9 games. And you saw, when he was playing, they were winning. They went 8-1, only losing to the Grizz when he started. Chris Parson, there's another one. Austin P. He'll put up great numbers, and that's a program that could really challenge to be a top 10 program. So I think those are the favorites. But the Big Sky having 8 preseason players on the watch list. 8 out of 30 just shows you how good the Big Sky is, for offensive talent.
The other guy I wanted to ask you about is one maybe people in Big Sky country don't know as much about, but Marquise Buchanan had an unbelievable year a year ago, and I think he's expected to be probably first and foremost one of the top draft prospects this next year.
I'm glad you bring up Marquise Buchanan. I mean, he Rhode Island, he's a 2-time 1,000-yard receiver, led the nation in receiving yards last year. He's going to have a banner year, and Rhode Island should really, roll, I think, in the CAA, get a high seed in the playoffs and really be a program in the spotlight. I think, Marquise is an NFL prospect with his size, just a veteran player. He's won, countless awards in their league, and I think he's going to, certainly be in the mix. If you're looking at wide receivers, he's right there in the Walter Payton conversation, just like a Taco Dowler is at Montana State. But yeah, there is so much talent returning this year. It's a little different than it had been in recent years, where a lot had left for the FCS level.
And you wonder if maybe that's a positive trend, right? Like I sort of wonder if guys are realizing, hey, I can go maybe transfer to the FBS, but what does that mean? I mean, maybe I go to a Power 4 and I don't get as much playing time, or I can't put up as big a numbers. Or maybe I go to a group of 5, but is that actually better than playing at a conference champion in the FCS? I don't know. I mean, what do you make of the sort of the landscape of all of that? It seems like some of the better players in the FCS are staying this last
It helps when you have teammates that are thinking along the same lines, and they share conversations and say, hey, let's stay, let's do this together, let's lift this program. I think, when it's an individual with NFL prospects who's maybe not on a program that's, elite, maybe there's more of an individual thought, hey, I've got to do what's best for me, whether it's the NIL or the NFL. I think the NFL is there for FCS players who have the talent. And if you're banding together as a group, like Montana State's doing this year, I think it doesn't matter where you're at, you're going to be noticed.
What do you make of the CAA and the way that league has evolved? Because that was right there. I mean, the CAA and the SoCon were the other two leagues besides the Big Sky Conference and the Missouri Valley Football Conference, in no particular order, that were always producing top seeds and national championship contenders. CAA not necessarily as much anymore. So what have you thought of sort of the evolution of that conference and how it influences the FCS?
Coulter, it's unfortunate the way the hits they've taken. I mean, it's one thing for a conference to lose a James Madison and a Delaware to the FBS level, those kind of moves. But you're talking the old guard moving on, a Villanova, William & Mary, Richmond. In that league, the league got huge. I mean, it was up to 16 teams 2 years ago, and you're not playing almost half the league in an 8-game schedule. I mean, you're not playing 7 of the other 16 teams. That upset some of the old guard. The distance, the travel, programs that have come into the league, most of them have not matched the level of the old guard in that league. I think that's what upset a lot of the schools that have moved on. It's just not going to be as strong of a year this year. I mentioned Rhode Island should really run away with it. There's very good programs, but not elite programs. Monmouth should have a good year, Elon, some of the other schools. At the same time, it's not the same, not even nearly the same CA that we were used to.
And you had some great stats earlier talking about South Dakota State and their rise to prominence, and obviously winning 2 national championships and actually owning the Missouri Valley this decade, despite North Dakota State still being so good. But last year was a little bit of a down year, but you could also point to the fact they were decimated by injuries in the middle part of the year. But now here they are in year 2 of Dan Jackson. So how would you sort of evaluate the prospects for South Dakota State? Do you believe that they are a real national championship contender in 2026?
Well, you hit it on the mark when you said the Grizz are either 2 or 3. And they are, depending on where you put South Dakota State. I mean, those 2 are right there behind Montana State. Let's put it this way. Montana State had 8 players, the high on our Stats Reform FCS preseason All-America team. The team with the second most was South Dakota State with 6. I mean, they have a ton of talent coming back. I think they're motivated, obviously, after a year where, they were 7-0 going into their big game with North Dakota State and got, walloped and never quite the same, especially after, Chase Mason was injured. Again, they were 8-1 when he started. He was always waiting in the wings behind Mark Gronowski. We all saw the talent, and hopefully he has a healthy year and really can show what he can do. I mean, he's a very elite. He took him into Bozeman and won last year. In September. So that shows you everything you need to know about him. And again, that's just an elite program that's sees, here's their time now with the Bison, not there.
ESPN Roundtable probably presented by Stockman Bank of Montana. Stockman Bank in Montana, only in Montana, and they plan on keeping it that way. Let Stockman Bank show you Montana's brand of banking. More with Craig Haley. Stats Perform right now. And then the rest of that league is so interesting to me as well, because North Dakota, you look at them on paper and they seem like they're always going to be good, and they are always solid, but they can never quite get over the top, it seems like. You look at a program like Illinois State, up and down, but a ton of dudes last year, and they returned some good players as well. And they obviously caught lightning in a bottle to go all the way to the championship game as well. And then Youngstown State, I thought maybe actually underachieved given the talent that they had at quarterback last year. And who knows what happens if you don't have a complete meltdown in the second half against Yale. Maybe that's a team that comes to Bozeman and challenges the Bobcats in round 2. But I think a lot of people are maybe looking at the Missouri Valley and saying, well, it's South Dakota State and everybody else now. There's no NDSU. But I think there's 3 other bona fide playoff teams in that league. What say you?
I agree. I think you could still throw South Dakota into the mix. I mean, they finished second in that league last year. Obviously, they're replacing a 3.5-year starting quarterback, Aiden Bowman, who you're quite familiar with. That's the big question with them. They're on a third different coach now for 3 straight years. I mean, they're probably 5th going in, but that's another elite program. 3 straight years in double-figure wins. I think the depth is there. I think you probably have to count Illinois State as being number 2 going in that league to the Jackrabbits, just because, what a year they had, getting to the national championship game. First overtime game ever for the championship game, thrilling game. They do have some quite a decent amount at talent back. Dawson running the ball in the backfield. Niecamp's a 2-time first-team All-American. Ty Niekamp. I just think they're going to be, a tough out for anybody.
And it'll be interesting to see how they overcome Illinois State, that is, overcome the heartbreak of what happened in Nashville last year. Because I think that game, the way it went down, it was like one team was just going to be riding off into the sunset, and the other team was just going to be completely heartbroken, because they both had moments where they had all the momentum. They both had moments where maybe they were sort of losing the game, salting it away on the wrong side of things. So I'm just so interested to see if Illinois – what a heartbreaking way to lose that, right? I'm sure Brock Spack is going to look back on that first blocked field goal forever and wonder, what if I just would have gone for it? But
yes, the kicking mistakes really haunted them. And for Brock Spack, he had the Bison almost beat back in 2013 or 14, I'm forgetting the year.
2013, yeah.
Yeah, and Carson Wentz drove him downfield, scored with 35 seconds to go, and took away a win there. So he's had some hard luck in the championship game, but he's a great coach. He runs a terrific program. I think they've taken the next step. I think they're a top 5 team going in. I'm bullish on UC Davis this year. I think they're going to have a banner season. If you look at their schedule in the Big Sky, you probably have, they're not playing too many of the higher teams this year. They're hosting the Grizz, but again, they're hosting, but they're not playing Idaho State, not playing Montana State. I just, Northern Arizona, I don't think they're playing them. I think their schedule shapes up for a banner year at UC Davis.
Craig Haley joining us here on Nuanez Now. So last thing, we mentioned Montana State, we mentioned Montana, we mentioned UC Davis. Those were the consensus picks for the top 3 teams in the Big Sky Conference. But how do you see the league otherwise? Do you feel like the Big Sky could be a 4 or 5 bid league? And who else do you think will be in contention outside sort of those definitive top 3 teams?
I think 4 for sure. Probably, you can make the case for 5. It's been 4 or 5 almost the entire decade. I think it was 4 straight years of one of those 2 numbers until last year. But then you wind up with 2 semifinalists in Montana State and Montana. I think Idaho State is one of the more fascinating teams in the FCS this year, because the talent level is outstanding. You have a big-time quarterback back in Jordan Cook. He has all the weapons he needs. Dason Brooks, James back on the perimeter. They have to get the defense. I think they're improved there, but Cody Hawkins has done a great job with that program. I think they're particularly interesting. Northern Arizona is in the mix. I would love to see a big year out of Eastern Washington. Their schedule's always tough. But it was good to see them improved last year. I just think it's a league that's 4 or 5 bids for sure, and really an elite 3 in the Bobcats, Grizz, and the Aggies, UC Davis.
Craig Haley, you can find a variety of his work at a variety of different places, but tell people what you got coming up and how they can find all your good stuff.
Well, our top 25 preseason poll stats reform is Monday, August 3rd, and then we'll have our conference previews throughout August. Just a fun time of the year. Talking about the FCS going into the year is almost as fun as the games. It's not quite as fun. The games are outstanding, but you know how we all love to break it down and to make forecasts. So it's a fun year ahead for the FCS, especially without the buys looming over everybody. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I enjoy your work, Coulter.
Likewise, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us, certainly, and we'll catch up down the road. But have yourself a great day, and we'll see you sooner than later, probably. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate Craig Haley for joining us on this week's ESPN Roundtable. Craig has good perspective when it comes to sort of the evolution of the FCS. He's covered it long enough to remember when the CAA, for example, the Colonial Athletic Association, Coastal Athletic Association, now formerly the Colonial Athletics Association, was the big dog conference, or at least one of them, right? It used to be, in no particular order, the CAA, the SoCon, when App State, Georgia Southern were ruling the day there, and then the Big Sky Conference, right? Now the Big Sky and the Missouri Valley are the two that have risen up. The Missouri Valley has only been a league for, less than 20 years. And, of course, the Big Sky has been a league since 1963, but it's taken a little while for them to sort of assume their rightful position atop the football championship subdivision. But Craig's covered this stuff for as long as I can remember, so he certainly has good perspective. And he's the guy that spearheads all the All-American teams and the awards and stuff like that, so he's always a good one to touch base with in the preseason leading up to the season. Our ESPN Roundtable is probably presented by Stockman Bank. Stockman Bank invites you to experience the Stockman difference. As a family-owned community bank with locations throughout Montana, Stockman Bank committed to enriching the lives of Montanans and helping communities succeed. What that means to you is that your money stays in the local economy, supporting your friends and your neighbors. Stockman Bank in Montana, only in Montana, and they plan on keeping it that way. Let Stockman Bank show you Montana's brand of banking. We'll talk some baseball and give you some free wings from the Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill on the other side. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. It's 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Is a will you marry me in your future? Or maybe you do it all over again. Hi, I'm Brian Toon with Jewelry Design Center, inviting you to come see the largest selection of Will You Marry Me in the state of Montana. The brightest diamonds of every shape and size, unique settings built to last, and skilled jewelers on site offering free sizing and maintenance for life, because that's how long we want to be your jeweler. Jewelry Design Center in Missoula, on Brooks, across from the Montana Club.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
The Missoula Mavericks are heading into the Montana-Alberta AA State Tournament with plenty of momentum after earning a dramatic walk-up victory Tuesday night to lock up the #1 seed. Hello, I am Hayden Smith. The Mavs, two-time defending Montana American Legion champions, trailed the Lethbridge Miners 10-9, entering the bottom of the 8th inning at Lindborg Craig Field. That's when Devin Leary, the ace pitcher who helped Missoula Sentinel capture its first ever state baseball championship this spring, stepped up to the plate. Despite having very few at-bats this summer, Leary lined the first pitch he saw back up the middle, driving in 2 runs and lifting Missoula to an 11-10 walk-off win. The victory improved the Mavericks to 17-7 in conference play, tying Lethbridge for the league's best record while giving Missoula the #1 seed out of the West, heading into next week's state tournament. Under longtime manager Brent Hathaway, the Mavs have won 9 state championships since 1994, including each of the last 2 seasons. Those back-to-back titles mark the 3rd time Hathaway has led Missoula to consecutive championships, and just the 7th time any Montana American Legion program has accomplished the feat. Now the Mavericks will head to Lethbridge, looking to make even more history. A 3rd straight AA state championship would make them the first program to accomplish the feat since the Helena Senators won 3 consecutive titles from 2001 through 2003.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is presented by Canyon River Golf Club. Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
Welcome back. Hope you're having a great Wednesday. I'm Colter Nuanez, coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio. Grizzly Disposal is locally owned, veteran-owned, and the only Bears that should be in your garbage. We're talking some baseball here, but first, let's give you some wings. The Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill is a great place to watch baseball any time of year, but certainly as we get now into sort of the heart of it, this is when it gets fun, right? I follow baseball, especially now that we have, Diamond Time baseball segments and you give updates. And Jeff Safford, our voice of the paddlehead, is so into Major League Baseball as well. And it's fun talking baseball with him too. But where I really start watching it is right about now, right after the All-Star break, coming to the trade deadline, and then that ramps up through August and then into September. Certainly September and October, I watch a ton of baseball. There's no better place in the town to watch the baseball than at the Desperado. We got a dozen wings for you, courtesy of the Despo. Located right across the street from the YMCA on Russell, Despo is family-owned and operated and one of the institutions of Missoula. And if you've never tried their wings, you got to. If you have, you're going to be lighting up the phone line right now. So shoot us a text, 406-888-1029. What do you want us to talk about? Let us know. Talking points, any sort of engagement about subject matters, opinions you have, opinions we have that you don't like. Let us know, 406-888-1029. And that's going to get you entered in to win wings, courtesy of the Desperado Sports Tavern and Grill. Wing Wednesday, every Wednesday here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Let's dive into a Diamond Time. Probably presented by DBAT. DBAT Softball and Baseball Academy. It's on Burlington Avenue, 821 Burlington. And they have state-of-the-art batting cages for any and every level of diamond sport player. Doesn't matter if you're a kid that's playing majors, Little League boys baseball, or you're in the Babe Ruth or your American Legion player, you're a high school player, maybe you're a weekend warrior, fast pitch softball player, fast pitch baseball player, slow pitch softball player. They got batting cages for all that. Go check out DBAT, 821 Burlington Avenue. And stay tuned. You're going to get a chance to win a couple swing cards courtesy of DBAT here on Nuanez Now. We'll start locally. The American Legion baseball it's been interesting to follow given then the implementation of high school baseball. I think high school baseball has given the opportunity to a lot of good baseball players that maybe wouldn't have been able to afford or dedicate the time that's necessary or just weren't interested in the lengthy summer season that is American Legion baseball. That said, I don't think high school baseball has hurt American Legion whatsoever, and it certainly hasn't in Missoula. The Missoula Mavericks are the two-time defending Class AA American Legion champions for Montana and Alberta. Montana shares an American Legion division with Alberta. There's a couple of teams from north of the border that play in it as well. The Mavs have been great. They won the championship in 2024 and 2025, so that's the third time that they've gone back-to-back under Brett Hathaway. 9 total state championships since 1994 when Hathaway first won a state title there with the Missoula Mavs. So 9 state titles is pretty darn impressive. Going back-to-back 3 different times, including the last 2 years, also very impressive. The Mavs last night clinched the number 1 seed going into the state tournament, and they did it in thrilling fashion. So they'll have an opportunity to become just the 3rd ever American Legion team in Montana to win 3 in a row. And as the number 1 seed, they are certainly one of the favorites. The way that they got to the number 1 seed, they came into last night's game tied with Lethbridge, the Lethbridge Miners, atop the standings. They were each 17-7. They were each Lethbridge was 17-6. Missoula was 16-7 in the standings. The Mavs found themselves down 10-9 in extra innings, but they had 2 guys on base, and Devin Leary stepped up to the plate and comes through. He's mostly just a pitcher. He hardly hits. He was one of the aces for Sentinel on their way to the Class AA state championship in the high school baseball ranks this last spring. But he hardly gets plate appearances for the Mavs. But he was on the bump, so he got a plate appearance last night, and he got it done. It was his first at-bat of the day, arguably one of the most pivotal at-bats of the season for Missoula. He hit the very first pitch of the at-bat right up the middle and scored 2 guys from that were in scoring position, and that helps lift Missoula to an 11-10 win over Lethbridge, and they walk it off. That walk-off win gives the Mavs basically the regular season title and the number 1 win, or the number 1 seed, going into state. So pretty cool. Owen Felton, one of Leary's teammates, said that kid deserves it. That made the whole day, honestly. He told that to the Missoulians, so pretty cool. And Mavs certainly looking to peak at the state tournament up in Lethbridge starting next week. So I'll have more coverage of that, certainly. But it's going to be fun. Actually, it starts on Saturday, the state tournament does. And I think that matchup last night between Lethbridge and Missoula may be a precursor of things to come. Brett Hathaway told the Missoulian the same thing. He said he expects to see the Elks again somewhere along the lines in this next week of the state tournament. So we'll see if Missoula can 3-peat, and we'll see who rises to the top when it comes to American Legion baseball in the state of Montana, even though they are going north of the border for state this next week to play up in Lethbridge. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Our Diamond Time is proudly presented in part by DeMorris Automotive. DeMorris Automotive has been family-owned in Missoula since 1958. DeMorris Automotive at 3115 West Broadway. Proud to offer Buick GMC and Mercedes-Benz. If you know me, you know one of my favorite things about baseball is the history of it all. And so we're going to start implementing into Diamond Time a Today in Baseball History. A couple days ago, we had the anniversary of when Hank Aaron hit his 755th home run, which was a career home run record that stood for decades. And Hank Aaron, somehow, as time has passed, has become almost underrated, even though he's the all-time leader in home runs for, multiple decades, and also the all-time leader still to this day in RBI, a 3,000 hit guy. Definitely one of the great players in the history of the game. And somehow he doesn't get quite he gets remembered, but do people think of him before they think of Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle and Joe DiMaggio and Ted Williams and so many of the other guys that come from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s era, like that mid-20th century? I don't know, but today, speaking of Ted Williams, this is a fun one as well. In 1960, at the age of 41, Ted Williams stole a base, which made him the first player in Major League history to steal at least one base in 4 different decades. He did it in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s. He was also one of the first 40-plus-year-olds to ever steal a base. It took another 40 years before Ricky Henderson matched the feat of stealing a base in 4 different decades. We talked yesterday about the way that baseball statistics have sort of evolved and changed over the years. That's certainly one of the ways they've evolved and changed. There's such a high priority on base runners and on-base percentage, et cetera, that people are still stealing bases, but they're not stealing 130 like Ricky Henderson did. They're not stealing in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 100s. It's more like if you get 40 or 50 steals, that's a pretty impressive season. And it was, too, but you don't have the Ricky Hendersons or Lou Brocks or Maury Wills or guys like that, Tim Raines, that are going to be like 700, 800, 900 steal guys anymore. And I think there's a lot that goes into that, but certainly stolen bases is part of the lexicon of baseball records that have evolved. Our Diamond Time, probably presented by D-Bat of Missoula. You want swing cards at D-Bat? We're going to give you 2 at a time, so then you can take a buddy. 75 swings each. You win the card, you take it in. You and your friend, or maybe you and you go twice, you're going to get 75 cuts. So if you want 150 total swings, courtesy of D-Bat, text us, 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. Text us and let us know what you're thinking about the wide world of baseball. The All-Star break is behind us, so we're into the second half of the Major League Baseball season. Most of the teams in the league are playing their 100th game or their 101st game. There's a couple teams that have played 99 games, but we're into the last third of the season, 162-game season here for Major League Baseball. Right now, the hottest team in baseball is not close, the Boston Red Sox. Almost everybody's been a little up and down the couple of weeks coming out of the All-Star break, but the Red Sox went into the All-Star break red hot. They've come out of the All-Star break red hot. Red Sox are on a 14-game winning streak. They were 10 games below 500, but now they're on the charge. They've cut the lead in the American League East to 6.5 games. They trail the Tampa Bay Rays by 6.5, and their 14-game winning streak, by far the longest winning streak in the majors right now. The only other team in the whole major leagues that has won 3 games or more in a row is the Los Angeles Angels, and they are in dead last, 10.5 games out in the American League West, 20 games below 500. Nobody else. I mean, you got a couple other teams like the Rays have won 2 straight, the Yankees have won 2 straight, the Guardians have won 2 straight, the Astros have won 2 straight. That's it. Everybody else has just been back and forth, up and down, up and down. So certainly going to be interesting to see if the Red Sox can stay hot, but the fact they're back in the race, I think is good for baseball. The Red Sox were expected to be good this year. Then they weren't, and now they are. So, I mean, that's the way that the baseball season goes, though, right? I mean, the Phillies were down and out and firing their manager not that long ago. And then Don Mattingly took over, and the Phillies have been great since then, and they're just 3 games out in the National League East, excuse me. So certainly endurance is such a huge part of a baseball season. We're going to try our best to give you updates on the divisional races once a week here, because I think it's fun for me, and I think it's fun for you guys too. So here's where we're at. In the American League East, Tampa Bay has a 2-game lead on the Yankees, but the Red Sox are coming. They're 6.5 games back right now. In the AL Central, one of the stories of the year so far has been the Chicago White Sox. They sit at 53-47, 6 games above 500. They are tied with the Cleveland Guardians atop that division. The Twins remain in the mix, but they are 5 games out and below 500. And maybe the Tigers are hanging around a little bit. We shall see. The American League West, the Rangers top the division, half-game lead over the Mariners. But that's just been the land of mediocrity. Rangers are 1 game above 500. The Mariners are sitting there exactly at 500, half game back. And then the Astros, 5 games below 500, but not out of the division race whatsoever. They're just 3 games back at 49-54. So that division has been no bueno and has not lived up to the preseason billing. In the National League, in the East, Atlanta has a 3-game lead over the Phillies. The Marlins are still hanging tough as well. The Mets have been the biggest disappointment in baseball. They are 16 games out. They have one of the worst records in the majors. In the Central of the National League, the Brewers, another one of the best stories, they're just tearing it up. They're 63-38. They are 6 games up on the Cubs. I mean, the Cubs will be leading every division in the American League, and they'd be right there in the National League East as well, but they're in second place because the Brewers have been so red hot with the second best record in baseball. Best record in baseball, the Los Angeles Dodgers. No surprise there. And they've just been blowing that division out of the water. I think people thought maybe the Diamondbacks and the Padres could give chase, but that's not been the case. Both those teams have been falling off the pace. Arizona's 11.5 back. The Padres are 13.5 back. Dodgers right now 64-38, which is a game up in the win column over Milwaukee for the number one spot in the National League and the number one spot in the majors. There you go, Diamond Time. Probably presented by DeMorris Automotive. DeMorris Automotive has been family-owned in Missoula since 1958. DeMorris Automotive at 3115 West Broadway. Proud to offer Buick, GMC, and Mercedes-Benz. Take a break, take you home here on this Wednesday. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. It's 102.9 ESPN Radio.
In honor of our great nation's 250th anniversary, Mattress Firm is having its biggest 4th of July sale ever. Save up to $1,000 off top-rated Tempur-Pedic, or save hundreds off Purple mattresses and premium adjustable bases. Save up to 50% on top-of-the-line mattresses, all backed by their 365-day guarantee. See store for details. It's their biggest 4th of July sale ever at your locally owned and nationally known Mattress Firm.
Mattress Firm, where it's easy to get a great night's sleep.
Les Schwab changed the tire game more than 70 years ago. Today, we still believe you should get more from less. Like more hustle, less hassle. More of the best service around, less of the runaround. Because we include America's best tire warranty in every tire we sell. So you get more unbeatable warranty, less charging you extra. It's why we're more than proud to say, you get more from less.
Jewelry Design Center. We want to be your jeweler for life.
ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio. If you'd like to make the switch to locally owned and veteran-operated waste management, give Grizzly Disposal a call, 406-541-7171. I made the switch a little bit more than a year ago, and I've been more than pleased with my service. You can also add that one-bin recycling if you are so inclined. You can also visit online, grizzlydisposal.com. You missed anything in the show, you can always find it on the Nuanez Now podcast which is available on all your various podcast hosting platforms. Ryan Tutel and I talked everything from British Open to the landscape of golf to Big Sky Kickoff and some of the storylines we have coming up with Brett Vegan and Bobby Kennedy. Freudian slip would not be the first time we do that, I promise you. There's been Bobby for the head coaches at Montana for the last 10 years. I guess Bobby. But stuff we'd like to talk to BK about as well as we head to the Big Sky Kickoff Media Days. Also talk some NFL. We also talked with Craig Haley about the national landscape of the football championship subdivision. Gave you some baseball, both local, historic, and contemporary in the major leagues, and had some fun. So check us out on the Nuanez Now podcast, available on all your various podcast hosting platforms. Just a few minutes left, and Hayden Smith will take you home here on the other side. But one piece of news worth announcing, we decided this on a conference call last night, on a Zoom call, in fact. The Montana Pro Football Hall of Fame, after 10 years, is on the move. The first 10 banquets have been hosted in Billings, Montana, at the Billings Hotel and Convention Center, which has been an excellent partner and pretty cool. And most of my fellow board members are in Billings, and there's been a lot of Billings area businesses that have fervently supported our dreams at the Montana Pro Football Hall of Fame. But Billings is a long ways away from basically everywhere in the state of Montana. It's especially a long ways away from everybody here in western Montana. So we decided, let's try to move this thing around a little bit. So our first move will be to Fairmont Hot Springs, which for me, as I sit in Missoula, is a lot easier. That's about 4 hours less of driving one way. And Fairmont's a great venue, should be cool. So the 2027 Montana Pro Football Hall of Fame will descend upon Fairmont Hot Springs. And excited about that. We'll give you more details as we know. Appreciate you listening. Nuanez Now, 129 ESPN Radio.